up just 2 weeks ago. We didn't even have it on our calendar. But Farron, our physical therapist director, got in contact with Ron, and he made an effort to, it wasn't even in his schedule. He's been here only 10 days. He's visiting the United States for only 10 days. I think he leaves on the 22nd or Monday. Yeah, Monday. So we got him here. We are so lucky. Ron is a business consultant, a strategic specialist, a private tour guide, and most importantly, a father of 6. And he's visiting Israel, he's visiting from Israel. And anyways, we can't be luckier to have him on today because, as you know, we had a special Torah ceremony today. All right, I'm going to hand it over. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Ron Sinai.
Thank you so much. I want to start in the past because we all know a lot of things, but if we do not understand the concepts that brought us in here, it's going to be very difficult. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You still hear it?
Yes.
All right. No, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, just lift it up a little bit. I'm used to holding a microphone. I've done it before once or twice in my life. My idea was that I want to take you first of all, and that's I'm going to start everything with a short biblical journey. I cannot connect to today without realizing that I'm part of yesterday. And as a Jew, my yesterday goes all the way back to this guy Abe, not Lincoln, another Abe. Most people know him as Abraham. I call him Abe, a nice guy. He was born in Haran, which is today Iraq, approximately about 3,000 some years ago. And he was a great guy. He had an issue. He used to hear voices. In one case, he heard a voice told him, "Listen up, dude. I'm apologizing, but you need to leave where you are and go." And not only that he listened, he actually took his cousin, managed to convince him. I don't know if my cousin would come to me and tell him, "Listen, I'm hearing voices, God's talking to me, I want you to take your stuff and leave." I would look at him like that and go, "Ooh, he needs to see somebody." Not in the case of Abraham, was so into it that he managed to convince his cousin Lot. And both of them walked 500 miles all the way to Israel. And upon entering Israel, as we all know, and I'm going back into the Bible, I'm going to try and do it short because all we have is about an hour. I don't want to take it a whole day, and I'm going to go through the entire stretch of history. What happened was that upon arrival into the country, they separated. Lot went one way, Abraham went the other way to the place called Beit El, the house of God. By the way, today it's the city of Ramallah. Ramallah is the house of God. It's actually the Arab translation of the same idea. So he settled over there. And again, years goes by. Him and his wife enjoying their life. All of a sudden the voice goes, "Yo, hey, listen up, dude. Happy birthday. It's your 90th birthday." Goes, "Wow, great. Thank you. Yeah, so my birthday gift to you is very simple. I want you to circumcise yourself." Ouch, that's a 90-year-old guy. It's not, he's old. There's gravity, there's issues there. And it actually happened. He didn't ask why. He just asked how, and the voice would go, "Flintstone." Ka-choo. It's painful. He sits there outside his tent for 3 days, and then guests come over, and instead of being nicely Americanly polite and kick them out of the house and go, "Come on, guys, I just, cut off, you know what?" And the voice goes with this cut. I don't feel that he spoke any lower than that after that. Okay? And instead of that, he actually allows them in and wash their feet and wash their hands and offer them food. "Well, Sarah, we have guests in the house. Make something." And he's a 100-year-old guy. And he let them in, and he feeds them. And they go, "Wow, you're the man. If that's how it is, next year, that time, you're going to have a son." And that was the point when his wife, his age, started laughing hysterically. "How are you talking about? I'm 100, he's 100. He just got, you know what, how am I going to have a baby?" she laughed so hard she named her son Laughter, Yitzhak. And he was born, and I'm moving the story forward, and as he got to be a little older, the voice again, I told you he had issues with voices. Told him, yo, dude, take your son, the only son, the one you waited 100 years to get, and sacrifice to me. So he took his son and brought him all the way to Jerusalem, put him on the stone, built an altar, tied him to the altar, took a knife and killed his son. No, he didn't. Because right before he did that, the voice yelled, whoa, hold on, Abe. Oh, it's a joke, don't kill him. Here's a rat in the bushes. Now, this is why there's so many psychiatrist Jews, because that requires ages of therapy, seeing your father with a knife on your head. And moving on. His son grew up, he had a son, Jacob, had a dream, ladder, angels go up and down, 12 kids. We all know the story, Joseph many colors, coat many colors, he was sold to the Egyptians, became a pharaoh, or at least the second to the pharaoh. There was famine in the country, and Jacob and his sons go to Egypt. They didn't know that he's alive, because they sold him to the Egyptians, who knew? And then all of a sudden they meet each other, like, this soap operas. Oh, my father, oh, my son, hugs, kisses, and they stayed in Egypt. And then Joseph dies, and they became slaves, and then we're talking about building the pyramids, and then Moses come to this story, and let my people go, and I won't let people go, and let my people go, and I won't let people go, and the 10 plagues, and we just read it in the weekly parsha. And eventually, they all leave, and they get to the Sinai, my family name. It is really Sinai. And as they arrive to the desert, they go up Mount Sinai, take 10 commandments, go down, break 10 commandments, go again, take another 10 commandments, go down again, start walking in the desert for 40 years. The problem was that Moses had a speech impediment. He was stuttering. That's why Aaron was speaking for him. So when God asked him, where do you want to go? He went, God goes, Canaan. He says, no, Canada. He was too late. We got to Canaan. Awful neighborhood. Now upon entry, he couldn't even go in because he hit a rock instead of talking to him. So Joshua walks in. Of course, after parting the Red Sea, Joshua had to part the Jordan River. He's not as big as Moses. But they all went in. And they settled in the country and divided the country between the 12 tribes. And everything was great. And here we have a king in the country after 300 years. His name was Saul. A wonderful guy. The first ever democracy in the world happened in Israel. The people elected Saul. God didn't want him. They elected him. And as a result, when he did not act the way God wanted, we have a new player in the game. Little redhead David, who was anointed by God and eventually became the king of Israel. Okay? Not a real nice guy. He had his own issues. Yeah, he did slay Goliath, but he was a peeping Tom, looking at this woman, killing her husband to marry her. There was issues with him. So when he approached God and said, I'm going to build the temple in Jerusalem, God says, not you. Maybe your son. And that's when Solomon came and built a temple in Jerusalem. That lasted for 500 years until the Babylonians arrived. And when the Babylonians arrived, they kicked us all out, all the way to Babylonia. Well, we set with earth, wind, and fire in song. And the rivers of Babylon. And then they came back after the rivers of Babylon to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. So the Jews from all over the world will unite in the land that was promised to Abraham 1,000 years before that. And if I go a little bit fast forward, that temple survived Hanukkah and the Greeks, the Hellenistic. Then the Romans came, and with them came King Herod, who rebuilt this temple. And this entire process of building the country ended up in the year 70. Not before another Jewish guy was born, not far from Jerusalem. His name was Jesus, a nice Jewish guy from a nice Jewish family. And as he was lived his life at these very turmoil years, he still saw the temple in Jerusalem. Same temple that we're still waiting for it to exist. So I'm giving us a little bit of points to ponder on. But at that point, in the year 70, we all got exiled. And for 2,000 years. We've been spread around the world. 2,000 years. And then about 150 years ago, due to Zionism, we started to go back home. Home. Not other than home, because this is our ancestral homeland. All of our stories connected to that. No matter where we are in the world, we keep on going to those stories. So we're back home. It wasn't going to be easy. Remember Moses and his mistake. He should have been faster in his speech. Because the neighbors around us doesn't want us there. And throughout the Jewish history back in our ancestral land of Israel, we found something very troubling. There is a constant attempt of each and every one of them to push us to the sea. We hear it on the media, we hear it all around. Whoever heard this phrase, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, means one simple thing. The Jews in Israel should be in the sea. There's one little problem that they forgot. Jews don't swim. Jews don't swim, guys. 5,000 years of history. Moses parted the Red Sea, walked in dry land. Joshua parted the Jordan River, we walked in dry land. Okay? Jonah took a ride in a whale. He didn't swim. Jesus was a Jew, walked on water. We do not swim. 5,000 years of history, Mark Spitz. That doesn't count, guys. Okay? It just doesn't work that way. So as a result of that, when we look into that, what's happening is the exact same attempt. So we're standing on the beach and we cannot swim. So no matter what will happen, we have to stand up and be resilient. And if for so many years, this conquest of this country from different areas, from different places, dividing it to the tribes and making it the center of the known universe in a way, leads us to me. This is me. It is one Sinai. This is my lovely family. This was taken about a month ago at Hanukkah at my sister's home. I'm mentioning all of these details because, like in any good movie, a gun that is presented in the first course will shoot in the last one, so I'm going to talk about them a little bit more as we go. So from next to me sits my wife. Then I have my older son, Raviv, who's 23, who was in Gaza at that time. He was just released after 92 days in service, which means that for the last 10 days I've been able to sleep for the first time. Not completely, because I still have my brother, and I'll tell you more about it later on. That's his twin sister sitting next to him, Stav. And then my 14-year-old and my 8-year-old who frowns because he's 8-year-old, and that's what they do. And my 4-year-old girl twins that sits at the bottom. So I have 2 sets of twins spread over 20 years or more. And no, it's from 2 wives, which means that it's not up to the wife, it's me. Don't ask me what I'm doing. I can't give you any hints on how to make this happen, but that's what it is. So I'm 54. I was born in Jerusalem. I live in a moshav, which is an agricultural community called Vered Yericho. It's in the West Bank. So, by the way, looking at a settler. I'm a settler. I live in a settlement. Well, it's a weird settlement because the land I live in was purchased in 1920. So I live in a land that was purchased in 1920, was conquered by Jordan in 1948, was liberated by Israel in 1967, and was reoccupied by Jews in 1982. I'm not living there from 1982 because I grew up and raised in Jerusalem. And living in Jerusalem, I grew up in an Orthodox family. Not ultra-Orthodox, modern Orthodox. By the age of 14, I left yeshiva and decided that I had enough. And I strayed away from my Jewish religious heritage. And started my life as an entrepreneur, as a tourism expert, I've been leading groups for the last 30 years in the country. Jews, Christians, you name it. For many, many years. Some of my dear friends are here, and they had the agony of sharing their valuable time with me blubbering for a week or two when they were in Israel. But the whole idea of this speech is to really let you go into this journey of what happened in Israel from October 7th. And one thing that we need to understand is that Israel is not a country that was created by the League of Nations at the end of World War I. It was a world that created way before that. All the rest of the countries in the Western world, except the United States, were created in 1917. All the African countries, the Middle East, all of it was divided after the Ottoman Empire collapsed. There wasn't any Lebanon pre-1917. There wasn't Syria, nor Iraq, nor Arabia, nor Bahrain, nor any one of these countries. They were all invented by the Allied forces as a result of World War I. Surrounding us, there's a few countries under the British Mandate. As you can see, it's divided here to Palestine, Palestine, Jordan, and Iraq were under British law. Lebanon and Syria was under French rule, and the division of this country between them was very much like splitting up a deck of cards between you. This is mine, this is yours, this is mine, this is yours, this is mine, this is yours, okay? And where were to be the borders? Well, let's talk about it. It wasn't a physical border. It was assigned. And it's important to understand that, because when we'll talk about Lebanon, you'll understand what I'm talking about. I do want to touch on this map for a minute, because in 1917, World War I came. And in World War I, the Allied forces used the Jews around what then was called Palestine, or was called part of, because the region of Damascus of the Ottoman Empire. And we assisted the Brits in conquering Israel. And already then came Sir Balfour, who was the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and promised the Jews a land, a wonderful piece of land. This is the piece of land, by the way. All of what you see here, which is today Jordan and Israel, was promised to the Jews. We have an actual piece of paper to prove it. The problem was that a few years later, in 1923, came a guy, you probably heard of him. His name was Lawrence of Arabia. Lawrence of Arabia, not Peter O'Toole, but the actual guy, came over to the Queen and says, ma'am, sorry, Queen, Her Majesty, I promised these Bedouins who assisted us that I will give each one of them a piece of land. So I know that you promised the Jews something, but they can deal with less than that. And actually gave the entire area from the Jordan River east, calling it Transjordan, later on to be called the Hassamite Kingdom of Jordan, to the hands of the Arab family, the Hassamite family of Abdullah. Then riots started, and Jews started to be killed. Again, those who fled the pogroms in Russia, arriving as early Zionists into the land of Israel, found themselves in another battle, this time at home. This battle took them into a decision, the world, that this country should be divided into two. A Jewish country and an Arab country. Unfortunately, let's see if I can actually do that. I think I have this trick here. Yeah, it is. This half of the map over here and below is all a desert. Uninhabitable desert. Almost impossible to live. Part of the Sahara. That's the Negev. The Negev. So we received the entire Negev, by the way. Everything you see in blue would be Jewish, because this was purchased and this was purchased already in the 19th century. So they couldn't give that to the Arabs. We own the land, we bought it. So they gave us the Negev. The rest, all of what we see here in like brownish color, was given to the Arabs. This is the partition plan. And the Arabs said something very interesting. No, we will not take it. we will push the Jews to the sea. Reminding you, we're not a swimmer. So that didn't work. And that brought us into the War of Independence. That ended up with the fact that not only that we didn't get that plan, which we accepted, at the end of the war, we got better. We got almost all of the Galilee, a large part of Jerusalem, at least West Jerusalem, and a large part of the area which we call today surrounding the Gaza Strip as part of Israel. And it all starts from Isaiah, who said, I should assemble your people from all over the world. The beginning of the prophecy comes alive. Again, it was shocking. 6-day war came after. And in 6 days, we quadrupled the size of the country. A miracle. Miracles happen daily. And when you live in Israel, you actually feel it. Here it's a hearsay. You open the media in order to hear about it. I actually felt it. It changed my life. All of a sudden, we control the entire country, including those areas that are surrounded or filled with our beautiful, peaceful Arab neighbors. And truth is that the minute we got it, we said we don't want it. Sorry, we have enough troubles with being with Jews. You know, it's back then it wasn't that many Jews. We were like 2 million, but 2 million Jews is about 300 million opinions. Okay, and they all argue. Okay, and they're all right. Okay, you argue with another Israeli, it's always going to be no, you're right. Okay, this is how it starts and this is how it ends. Okay? Whatever you're going to tell him, you're going to say, no, you're right. You can never start without creating an argument. So at the end of the day, we're back. And when I say we're back, we're not just back, we're here to stay. And this decision that we're here to stay leads us towards October 7th. The operation named Iron Swords. So let's understand what's happening. But before I will go to how it happened, I want to talk about me. Because you all heard the news. You all heard what's happening in the skirmishes and the horrific things. I want to give you a little bit of my insight. October 7th, I'm sitting at home. Where I live is one of the safest places in the country. I live by the Dead Sea. Not far from me is the city of Jericho. Even if they'll try to shoot at me, they're more practically going to shoot at Jericho than me. So be kind of safe. I didn't hear any sirens go off. I didn't hear anything. What I did hear was a phone call from my brother telling me, Ron, there's things going on near Gaza. I'm going to the army. My younger brother, who's 16 years younger than me, is a very, very talented human being. He graduated his med school. He's an anesthesiologist. He just finished his residency, hopefully to start a good life with his wife, who's also a doctor. And she's still in residency. They have 3 young kids. And he was called into the war. I didn't know yet that it's a war. We just knew that something is happening. As hours came up, we realized that the story is a lot bigger than what we expected to be. My sister calls me and tells me, Ron, my daughter was at the rave party. We don't know what's going on with her. We can't get in touch with her. It took us 5 hours before we heard anything from her. Today we know what the story was. She and her friends left the party when the rockets started to fly over their heads. The 3 of her friends, there were 5 of them, the 3 of her friends ran to the car. Her boyfriend decided that that's not a good idea. He grabbed her and started running. They ran for 22 miles. She fainted on the way. He ran into a clementine orchard and smushed clementines on her face so she'll wake up, so he could keep her dragging her. When he couldn't wake her up, he just put her on his shoulders and kept on running. They survived. But they were the only survivors out of all their friends. And as they were coming home at that evening and starting to understand that they were the survivors out of this group of people, started looking for these friends, and nobody knew what's going on. The next morning, started hearing news, started going to funerals, shivas. But the next morning, her boyfriend was called to the army. So she's alone, dealing with this thing. A girl that was about to go to college is now doubtful that she'll have any life. Okay? She's devastated. She's completely devastated. Because her boyfriend was there in the army up until 10 days ago. Not knowing if he's going to survive it or not, after losing everybody that was in her life. Her sister was just released from the army. She was one of those girls who watched the border on the cameras. By the way, it's a unit, wonderful unit. It's only women in this unit. I once asked the commander of the unit, how come you have only women there? Because you think that there's going to be one man that will be able to sit in front of a screen of TV for 8 hours if it's not sports? A woman has the ability to sit and look for details. Men don't. They're just not good enough. So, the stress was just building. Then my son was called in. And he was there in Gaza up until 10 days ago. Thank God he's home. Thank God he's okay. I don't know what was going to happen with his life right now, but this is what it is. And again, it hit me. As we're going through services of burial, you read in the 30, you read chapters of the book of Psalms. And we're going to a 30 of one of the friends of my niece. And she was given the prayer book to read this chapter of Psalms that actually talks exactly about what she went through. One by one. How she ran, how she was saved, how actually she should not fear terror at night. And I'm looking at it, I'm saying, God, this is another prophecy. Life is appearing again and again and again. And if I want to add one more thing to this thing is, last night I gave a short talk in Temple Sinai here in Boca. And the rabbi there told me, you got 10 minutes. I go, all right, let's see how I can do this in 10 minutes. And it became something that I started doing in the last few months. I'm reading the weekly Parsha. I got it into my system every Friday morning. I open up the Torah and I read the Parsha and then I read the Haftarah. I want it as part of my life, back to my life. And the last two sentences of this week Haftarah was talking about God is going to release the prisoners and guard us and protect us. And I'm not a religious person, but I was crying reading it. So I want to go to the actual, what happened in October 7. The terrorists have entered Israel from the border of Gaza. But the big question is, who are these terrorists? Where did they come from? Who are these Hamas people? What are we doing with them? And the answer is, whatever I knew on October 6th changed in October 7th. For many, many years, I had held a very center-left positions. Though I live in the settlement, to break anybody's ideas, I'm not a gun-ho. I fought enough in the army. I know that battles and wars are not good. I held many years ideas very similar to the ideas that I received from my commander, who was Yitzhak Rabin. You fight as much as you have to, and you fight for peace as much as you can. And that was the way I looked at things. There's got to be good in people. October 7 rocked my boat, because what happened wasn't an insurgent of terrorists. For every terrorist that entered Israel, there were all between 10 to 50 uninvolved Palestinians who entered with them, chanting, cheering, slaughtering, mutilating, raping. Excuse me for using this language, but that's the reality. And the understanding that I don't fight against a terror group, but I fight against people whom their sole purpose in life is to annihilate the Jewish people completely. I don't have to say it, they said it out loud. October 7 is the first of many October 7s. There will be more October 7s until there will be no Jews in this country. Or in their words, there will be another October 7 and another October 7 and another October 7. They did not just enter Israel. They defiled everything that we regards safety. They entered our homes. You know, in the last week that I was here, I was giving talks like that to many groups. And always comes the same comparison. Yeah, we know what you're talking about. We remember 9/11. And I go, guys, I am sorry to let you know, I remember 9/11 too. It's not the same. Because Israel knows hundreds of 9/11s throughout the history of this country. Terror attack is a terror attack. You never know it's coming. It's almost like a car accident. It hits you when you don't understand it. It's not organized. To the level is, they aiming towards civilians. But it's a blow, and you can actually get out of it, and relive your life. And we're looking at what happened in 9/11. I remember I was on a plane on my way to the States as part of the Israeli rescue team. And then on the plane, Bush appears on the radio and says, "We really appreciate your help, Israel. It's an internal issue. We will deal with it. Thank you for your help." And as we got on the plane, that's how we got off, took off all the equipment, and drove back home. And since I live in the West Bank, I drive through Palestinian villages to see them throw rice in the air, celebrate on the death of innocent Americans. Next to a sign says US aid. Okay. So we know terror. This is not terror. This is Gaza. This is where demons live. I don't call them people, sorry. I don't call them uninvolved, sorry. I can't. What I saw in the last 3 months is not human. It's not human. It's people call them animals. I love animals. I can't call them animals. Animals have basic will to live. Like any creature on earth, there's a will to live. You want to live. We all want to live. I wake up in the morning and I say, Modeh Ani, because I'm alive. Thank you. I have another day on this earth. When somebody wakes up in the morning and goes, yes, that's a good day to die. What's wrong with you? When a mother goes, oh, I'm so happy that you're dead. It's crazy. It's crazy. When a guy kills somebody, 16-year-old, calls his mom, goes, "Mom, you can't believe what I did. With my bare hands, I murdered 10 Jews." Now, it's not Israel saying that. They posted it on social media. They took pictures of families that they killed and sent it to the family social media so they'll see what they're doing. Gaza is divided into 3 major areas. The north area, which you can see in blue, it means that Israel is in full control of this area. It changed a little bit because this is about a week old and we're still working on it. Center Gaza and south of Gaza. North of Gaza is the area that is most populated, and that's why there was a lot of bombardment, a lot of work that was done. The terrain is different. Now the IDF is working mainly on the south area of Han Yunis, moving into Rafah. The battle is a very difficult one. We are working in neighborhoods that the streets, okay, and we used to American streets to put in consideration what a street looks like in Jabalia, for example, which is next to Gaza Street. The widest area will be about, no, that's double, okay? That will be about the distance between 2 houses. You cannot have more than 1 person walking in an alley that goes for 100 yards like that. Somebody comes next to you, you have to do like that or walk back because there's no other way to go, okay? That's how they live. Sewage in the ground, rats. There's no cats, the rats ate them all. Okay? I remember that. I was there in the 80s. 1988, I was there. I remember Jabalia very well. I always said that nobody should live like that. Nobody should live like that. I had my heart broken every time I came into Gaza when I was a soldier in the 80s. But then we left Gaza. We're not there anymore. We left in 2005. They received from 2005 to today estimations of about $150 billion. With that much money, this should be looking like New York, like Manhattan. $150 billion. The answer is, the money never got to the ground. Well, it did, way down below the ground, okay? New York City tunnel system is about 200 miles. All of the tunnels in New York is about 200 miles. Gaza holds a little less than 500 miles. Again, understanding what I'm talking about. Gaza, the length of Gaza is 42 kilometers, which is about 30 miles. 30 miles long, over an estimation between 3 to 7 miles wide. That's the Gaza Strip. How do you shove in 500 miles of tunnels? It's like almost every other house will have a shaft into something that goes underneath. An entire city was built underneath, not for the Gazans, for the combatants, for those whom the only job is to kill as many Jews as they can. And for so many years, we thought that at the end of the day, there's some regular people that I can talk to and make sense into it and make peace with them. A 2-state solution. October 17th. Boom. What 2? What states? There should be no Jews. There should be no Israel. 136 returnees are still in Gaza. I call them returnees and not abductees because I want them to return. And if I hold them hostages, it separates me from them. I want them back home. 136 of them are still there. There were over 250. Those who came back told us something amazing that the media here doesn't really talk about. 80% of those who came back told us a very interesting story. They were not in the tunnels. They were not underground. They were in houses of people that received money for this thing every week. Thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. And when they realized that they are jeopardizing the abductees, they moved them from one family to another. It doesn't even go through the Hamas. It's the people. They make money out of it. So we don't know where they are because the population, uninvolved, are keeping them in their homes. Stories of families that the women that were released said that the women and the children were kicked out of the room so the husbands can come in and rape them. For months, they're still there. There's a baby, 1 year old, still in prison. And you know these things. I don't want to go into this because it's way too much. I met a family, a woman, that her daughter, 27, is in Gaza. Only last week. I couldn't listen to her. Because all that I could think of is the simple question: how do you go to bed? How do you sleep? She goes, I don't. It gets to be 3 a.m. I'm taking several pills. It doesn't help me. I just crash. 2.5, 3 hours later, I'm up again. I go, so how do you get up? She goes, what do you mean, how do I get up? If I won't get up, she will die. I need to scream for her. And yet, Me Too movement that went so blindly against and for everything have not said a word about it. I just heard a question that, again, in the States everything goes to politics, but I'll try not to put it political. Michelle Obama leading a movement. I haven't heard anything from her, sorry. Not a word so far. Not one. Why? These are not women? What's the difference? I'll tell you. It's Jewish women. Who care? Who care? So what if you were the first to stand in all these riots, standing and writing for the good thing to do? Because deep inside of us, we're a bit different. We live according to a moral code. Not standing by this thing, horrific. The reason not standing by this thing, even more horrific. And if I move from Gaza, from the south of Israel to the north, it did not end with the south. Because as that started, Hezbollah, by the way, don't take pictures of this picture because I just got it from the military intelligence before I left, actually is the insurgents of Hezbollah in Lebanon today. We know where they are. If you pay attention, we know exactly where they are. I can tell you how many people are in every point over there. And it's a question that comes up again and again and again in my talks. So how come we didn't know what's going on in Gaza? Because here we have allies, or not allies, but the enemy of the enemy is my friend. And there's so many people in South Lebanon that don't like Hezbollah that they give us data. In Gaza, everybody is Hamas. Whatever we get is still questionable. We don't know anything. Ever since October 7, we started to understand what's going on, not because we got intel, because we capturing those terrorists and we interrogating them to understand what's going on. That's how last week we realized that one Israeli soldier that we found him, unfortunately, we found him in a very bad shape. The Palestinian guy in Gaza that killed him decapitated him and took the head into Gaza so he could sell it.
Oh.
For $10,000. Oh, here's my price. This is not human. Now, he's not a Hamas member. He was not a Hamas member. He was the uninvolved guy. So if anybody tells me there's uninvolved, I tell them, I'm sorry, I don't know any of those. I don't believe there is any. As hard as it is to see the suffering of the Palestinian people, and it's hard for me. It's hard for me as a Jew, it's hard for me as a human being who value life more than anything, because this is how I was raised. To believe in the sanctity of life. I'll be blunt and say, it's not my problem. If they have any problems about it, they should approach their leaders in Hamas and blame them for that. I do everything I can and more to make sure that nobody who is uninvolved won't get hurt, to the level that we are doing stupid things. We call people in their homes, listen guys, we're going to blow your building up. Okay, you rather leave now. As they try to leave, the Hamas shoots them. You don't leave, you will be blown up, because it's better to show you blown up by an Israeli airstrike than if you leave. Those who leave sometimes take the terrorists with them. We don't know because they don't wear uniforms. We have hundreds of shots of terrorists that were killed holding an RPG in their hands, and you see a guy runs in next to them, pick up the RPG and goes away. Now you have a civilian on the street that the Israelis have shot. Cold-blooded. He didn't do anything. Look, it's a civilian. He's wearing sandals and wearing a t-shirt. How would you know? So I don't trust the numbers. All the numbers of the Palestinian casualties does not come from Israel or from the US. It comes from Hamas. How can I trust this organization to give me the right numbers? Oh, they became righteous among nations? What? No, they're terrorists. I don't trust them at all. So back to Lebanon. We know what's going on in Lebanon. The problem, the main problem of Lebanon, it's geography. It's kind of weird to say, but biblically, there is no Lebanon. Lebanon is part of Israel. Even the name Lebanon comes from Hebrew. If any of you know a little bit of Hebrew, you know that Lavan is white. And Lebanon is the white mountains because they are much taller than the Upper Galilee, and they have snow on them. So here we have the white mountains of the Galilee, called Harei Lebanon, the white mountains of the Galilee. The actual biblical border of Israel lies at the Litani River, which is a natural border. The Brits and the French decided that the line will be 12 kilometers or 6 miles south of it, in the middle of the mountain area. Literally in the middle of the mountain area. To understand what it looks like, these are Hezbollah fighters. You see them? Standing with their back to us. But they're facing down this beautiful little town called Metula.
Been there.
Okay? Metula. That's the view they have of Israel. Guys, this is the borderline. You see this line over here? That's the borderline of Israel. They're standing on a hill, looking down. That's the result of that. That happened last week. These houses that you see down there, that's what happened. Because when you're sitting there and nobody is even blocking your view, you're done. There's no other way to deal with it. So we're trying. This is the guy that the US have gracefully assisted him to meet with the 72 virgins. The guy next to him, Israel, assisted him to get to those 72 virgins. Now they have a big problem because they're sitting a whole lot of them to get to those 72 virgins and their lack of virgins. So I don't know what they're going to do. That's the situation. But this is evil. Their job is to plan how to kill as many Jews as they can. And by the way, it will not end with the Jews. Their end goal is to Islamize the world. How do you Islamize the world? You don't convert them. You kill them. You kill them. Look at ISIS. And then come the Houthis. I love this. Houthis. It sounds like a doll that you can find at Toys R Us. Houthis. Or a restaurant. That's with a D, not with a T. The Houthis, another branch of Iran, like the Hezbollah. I now realize something very interesting. It's the three H's. Hamas, Hezbollah, and Houthis. Triple H. They don't do roadside assistance. The Houthis join in mainly because the Iranian regime made a decision. They want to control the world economy. Now, this little group of people, 300,000 people, are now holding the world economy at the bottom. And what does the world do? What Israel did before October 7th. Protect ourselves to death. Defend ourselves to death. We have assigned a dozen of anti-rocket rockets and iron domes and arrows and you name it. And Israelis have great concept of technology and naming things. Okay? But what stands behind it, and why do I say that? Again, I was one of the greatest admirers of the Israeli ability to protect our people. Every Israeli knows that he's safe. The government have given us this technology that can shoot a rocket before it hits me. It's so smart that if the rocket is not going to hit me and it's going to fall next to me, it's not going to shoot any rocket to stop it because it's not going to hurt me. That's smart of a system. It's the worst thing that ever happened to Israel. Because what he did, it created a situation that we are on a defense. All the time we're on a defense. We just received a bulletproof. And they're shooting at us, and we go, oh, but we have a bulletproof. See? Keep on. I'm good. Keep on. You see? It works. Until the moment that it's not aimed to the bulletproof, but to the head. And then we're not. You cannot be on defense all the time. I hope that some of you know sports.
Yeah.
Basketball. If you have a team that stands under its own basket and protects it without throwing any balls to the other hook, will never win. Never, ever. Yet the other team that will keep on offensing, no matter how good your defense is,
They're gonna get first.
eventually they're going to get. Even if it's just by luck. They're going to overhead you and hit the hook. The latest years of the Western world is gone into defense, no offense. And that's what brought us to October 7th. The axle of evil, okay? $16 billion has been spent since 2012. 12 years ago, they started pouring money, Iran, by the way, into Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, the Palestinian territories, and of course Yemen, to stir the beginning of World War III. And we kept on saying that will not happen. We're not going to be dragged into this war. We're going to protect ourselves to death. And we did. So today the Houthis are shooting at vessels that are going through the Red Sea. What do? Nothing. Nothing. From time to time we give them a slap on the wrist. Oh, come on, you can't do that. Here, we're going to blow one of your bases from far distance without, very clean, surgical movements. But that doesn't work, guys. The guy's not going to start loving us. They're not going to raise the American flag and sing a tikva. They're not going to do that. They're aimed to attack as much as they can. And I want to move forward in my speech here and be a little bit more positive. After I gave this, and then I'm going to give us some time to ask questions if anybody wants to ask questions. Book of Micah. Everyone will sit under their own vine and under their own fig tree, and no one will make them afraid, for the Lord Almighty has spoken. This, for me, for many years, ish tachat gafno betachat te'enato yeshev. The ultimate peaceful scenario. You're eating under a vine of grapes, eating figs. Not really good for your stomach and digestion. I can promise you that if you'll do a lot of that, you'll need a toilet really close to you, but we're not going to go there right now, okay? That's how the future should look like. But unfortunately, this is the actual picture of the Middle East. You see the little dot in the middle? Even my laser is too big for that. That's Israel. All of that is Muslims who really don't like us. And I don't see it changing anytime soon. And yes, we are putting a lot of effort into making sure that it won't happen. Iron Dome, Arrow, Israeli tanks that has devices that will protect them. We need to be able to move in. What is the end goal? If anybody asks. I'll start with Lebanon because it's easy. And this is my theories. I don't think that I speak for the government right now because the government don't speak. So I can't speak for somebody who doesn't say anything. And they haven't said anything for the last 3 months. They haven't figured out yet that the people are not listening to their petty rivalry. And I'll talk about it in a second. But if I will try and portray the future in Lebanon, the Israeli soldiers, the Israeli army will have to conquer part of southern Lebanon. Move the border 12 kilometers, 7 miles north to the Israeli border, to the Litani River. Not what we did on the Lebanon War. It's not going to be creating a zone. No, it's going to move the international border all the way to the Litani. Annexing whoever living in South Lebanon into Israel and calling it Israel forever and ever. They cannot have a border with this country that is not a physical, geographical border. Because, as I said before, the terrain is that Lebanon is taller than Israel. And 170,000 Israeli citizens who live on the northern border of Israel have been evacuated from their homes in the last 3 months. I have to say, it's complete families, complete villages. If any of you have ever been to Kiryat Shmona is a ghost city. Nobody lives in Kiryat Shmona anymore. All the villages, Dan, Mayan Baruch, Dafna, Shtula, Zarit, Nahariya, all of them have been evacuated to Tel Aviv area, to Jerusalem, to the Dead Sea area where I live. And they say to me, those deportees, those Jews who have fled out of their homes again, in our own country, they tell me, I'm not going back. I don't care until I will feel safe, not told don't worry. In Hebrew they say al tidag. My grandma always said al tidag is an old fish. Old fish smells bad. If anybody tells you al tidag, start worrying. They won't go back unless we will make sure that they won't be able to infiltrate into Israel like they did in Gaza. And the Hezbollah has the mean, the will, and the opportunity to do that. Iran is actually the one who's running the shots, so the world will have to join in into the task of stopping it. Unfortunately, right now, as you all heard, I don't know if you heard, but this is an election year. And in election year, with the amount of controversial within politics in the States, it's not going nicely. And therefore, I don't see the US joining forces with Europe to eliminate this evil power of Iran. I just don't see it happening. So we'll have to wait until the stability of a new government in the States, which we'll be talking about January of next year. Okay? If I'm really, thinking that the intensity is still going to continue. Or as I always say, if you have a problem, whether it is physical problem, health problem, business problem, take care of it and eliminate it when it's still small. Because when it gets bigger, there's not a lot that you can do. And Iran is in this location. It's getting bigger. It's getting bigger to the stage that no small insertion can actually deal with that. You need a full workout on this one. That's why it beeped. For some weird reason it beeped. Yeah, now I know why. Let's see if I can actually do it that way. Oh, it's here. Yeah. Oh. No, it didn't work that way. So what I'll do is I'll go to turn this one off like that. Okay. Okay, and talk without it. In Gaza, I see Israel continue controlling Gaza. Forever. Not by living there, not by building settlements there, but making sure that the place is demilitarized. Probably with the help of Arab forces, what we call less extreme Arab countries, the Emirates, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and others, who will join in forces. They all join in forces because we have a mutual enemy, and that's Iran. And in their benefit is to stop Iran from this infiltration because it affects them too. And they will have to maintain the civil life of the Palestinians. It won't be the Palestinian Authority because they're in cahoot with all of this thing. The other option or the other point that I want to put on that there, it's going to be an international rebuild of Gaza. Not Arab, not local, actual international companies who will get paid out of Gaza, come to Gaza to build and go. A project by project by project by project. That way, the money will be followed. One of the things that popped in my mind, in the city of Gaza, a city of about 700,000 people, there are 38 hospitals. 38 hospitals. They should be the healthiest people on earth. But today we know that it's not really hospitals. It's Hamas headquarters. So there's a whole lot of them. And last but not least is that we will have to build some kind of a local governing within Gaza. Okay? So that will be Gaza. That will be Lebanon. To sum up this talk and give us some time to ask some questions, I want to share with a little bit of what's happening ever since. Israel is united in ways that I never felt. It's not united behind a flag. It's not united behind Zionism. It's not united behind anything. It's united behind a heart. A huge, big heart of belonging. There's a realization that we're all one nation. I feel more Jewish today than I felt my entire life. I feel connected to people, Jews around the world, more than I ever felt in my life. In Israel, with all these political skirmishes that goes on, you find the people yell at the politician. If you don't have anything that unifies to talk about, simply shut up. We don't want to hear anything. If it's not going to be positive, shut up. It's an actual thing that goes through the social media in Israel. Guys, we don't want to hear those rivalries anymore. We're not in October 6th. It doesn't matter whether we're right wing or left wing, liberals or conservatives, Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox, or completely seculars and atheists. You're a Jew, you'll be killed. Shut up. I'm looking around me in the last 3 months, besides trying to figure out how hard it is to a nation to mourn. Because we all know as Jews that when somebody passes away, the Jewish religion gives us powerful tools. It's called Shiva. It's an amazing tool of survival because you're not alone. People come, people help, people hug you, people give you their heart. And you're sitting there and just accumulating love. And after that comes the first month. And then comes the Yitzhak that the entire congregation is standing with you and remembering your loved one. It's an amazing concept. But that's you doing on one person. How long does it take to a nation to mourn over 1,400 people who were slaughtered in their homes, in their safe of their home? So all of a sudden I look as a business consultant, I have a woman, amazing woman, strong. She used to be a teacher, and all of a sudden she decided that she wants to start a new career. She wanted to teach couples how to warm up their relation through ice cream. So she's built up an entire thing, and she does like workshops, and people sit, dozens, hundreds sits there and listen to her talk about, being a couple for a long time is not an easy task. It's a constant job. And sometimes this job is not nice. So why not use ice cream to make it better? And she was wonderful. She built an actual ice cream shop in her house for that purpose. October 7th, she's an Orthodox woman. She heard about what's going on. On October 8th, she sold her entire ice cream place. Went in and bought commercial kitchen. Placed it instead and started cooking home food for soldiers. She got tons of volunteers to help her cook. But every time she goes to the supermarket, I get a call. Ron, it's me. I'm in the supermarket. I need your credit card. And I give her. She fed, until today, over 600 meals to 600 soldiers on Shabbat meals that she gives them all over Judea and Samaria. Another friend of mine, American, he's from Phoenix, moved to Israel when he was a kid, opened up a catering company. He feeds a lot of people. He does barbecue. He's really good at it. I'm telling you, when you go to Israel, I'll take you there if you like to eat meat. The guy is really good at what he's doing. October 7th, he closed his business. Decided I can't feed anybody. I can feed only soldiers. Every day, he takes out about 6 to 10 thermal boxes with briskets to the battlefield to feed the soldiers with real food, not the fakakta food the army gives you. Okay? A real food, something that will give them a feel of somebody's thinking of you. He already put out $250,000, and he's not stopping. He said, I'm not going to work for anybody until the war ends. I'm going to feed the soldiers. And he's not alone. Group of people decide they're going to take motorcycles and divert food from one place to another, and divert goods from one place to another. And if you lost your wallet, left it at home, and now you're in Gaza, I'll go home and I'll bring it to you to wherever you need it. You forgot your tefillin at home? Don't worry, we'll bring it to you. Volunteering became a major thing in Israel. Well, mainly because we don't have Palestinians to work, somebody has to do the job. Disconnect to this piece of paper that lies on your chair. It's a way to help. It's a way to support. It's a way to get in. There is a site connecting at the bottom of it, or you can use the QR code on your phone and just get it, and whatever goes out of it, I promise that it will get to the right place. Because these are not organizations, these are private people who are actually doing it out of their homes, without the help of any great organization. That's how they are. And that's how Israelis are today. We're all part of this thing, and we're not going to let go. So I want to thank you for having me here, for allowing me to share my heart with you. And if anybody wants to ask me any questions, I would love to answer. Can I be a Jew? When would the Messiah will come? Oh yeah, we'll continue to communicate. I don't know.
You're dreaming.
I don't know. I don't know if there'll be ever peace to the level that we want it to be. I believe that there's going to be a more peaceful times. But in order to have peace with somebody, that somebody first of all needs to recognize your right to exist. If I don't get that, I won't see it happening. Yes, 1 second.
When are we going to hear from Netanyahu? And what sort of plans going forward?
Well, it's two questions, very good questions. When are we going to hear from Netanyahu? I'm asking the same question for the last 3 months. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. The truth is that he doesn't speak a lot, but they're doing a very good job, Craig, as for now. They're doing a very good job in this battle. We're in the midst of a war. Okay? We're doing a very good job. We are actually meeting the expectations of what we're doing. We're in a state of war. I believe that the people here might still remember this wonderful lady called Golda Meir.
Movie last night, I saw the movie.
So Golda Meir was an amazing woman.
I met her.
On the other hand,
I met Golda in '67.
Right. So on the other hand, though she's a very wonderful woman, she found herself at the end of her career being booted out because of the Yom Kippur War.
Right.
I don't see any other option for Netanyahu. But as for now, when we are still in the midst of war, it's not on the table. He is the Prime Minister of Israel. And he probably is going to be there until we finish with this war, because it's not time to rock the boat. You know, we're not sitting in a comfortable place. Okay? So Mike's position is, as for now, he's in power. I'm not a big fan, but he's my Prime Minister, and I trust him, and he's actually proving it by doing, not by talking about it. I expected him to be more fatherly. I expected him to be more of a leadership, meaning taking the responsibility on whatever happened. It's not who he is. I can't plant an apple and expect to get oranges out of this tree. This is who he is. He's a politician. He's a very shrewd politician. There's not really a chance that he's going to survive this. Okay? Politically, I'm saying. But it's going to take time until this war will end, because nobody in the country will actually push him in the middle of the war. It's not good for Israel. What was the question? Sir, I hope I answered.
Do you think that the United States is going to stay allied with Israel and provide whatever help we are now providing as time goes on? How long do you think that the support's going to last?
Forever.
Well,
regardless to
repeat
the
the
administration.
question. Repeat the question, Ron.
The question is, does the U.S. going to keep allies with Israel, and for how long?
no.
I'm going to answer it in two pieces to this answer. One is what I just said. The U.S. will always protect Israel, regardless to whether it's right or left. Okay, Democrats, Republicans, doesn't matter, because there is a common understanding that we are the front line of the U.S. And in a way, if we won't be here, the attacks will be on America. So there is a mutual understanding that whether we like each other or we have issues or not, I need to keep this going. That's one aspect. Though with that, and I'm not going to talk politics, okay, with saying that, because we're in a year of elections, my hands are tied as an Israeli to do what actually I need to do.
Which is,
Which is to, for example, as I said, in Lebanon, to move these 12 miles and conquer South Lebanon. In Gaza, we need to make sure that we actually keep on going. If you ask me, every single humanitarian truck that goes into Gaza prolongs the war, put the life of the returnees in danger, and put the life of my soldiers in danger. They should have nothing coming in. Drink from the sea if I can. Because if I will not put the pressure on, it costs me lives. Because the people does not get those humanitarian aid. It goes straight to the hands of the Hamas, and if anybody from the local Palestinians tries to get any of the food that gets them in 180 trucks every day, the Hamas will shoot them.
but is it the help that?
It doesn't help us. It helps the media in the world. It helps,
Well, that's right,
but it doesn't help us.
I know.
And what I need is an actual help, and the help is a lot more in the realm of offense and not just defense. And for that, we'll need to wait a little longer. This is how I see it. Yes?
Is there any scenario where you see Hamas leaving Gaza, getting out from behind, hiding among civilians?
I pray for that every morning. Is there any hope that Hamas is going to leave Gaza? They can't. It's not an organization.
So why is
It's an ideology. Okay? What we are trying to get rid of is all the combatants of Hamas. As I said, I don't believe that there's anybody who's uninvolved. But as long as you're not carrying a gun, you're not posing a threat. If I will be able to get rid of the guns, then even if you don't like me, there's not a lot that you can do. Okay? So eventually there will be a situation that they will be disarmed. They're not going to leave there, but they're going to be disarmed. And as disarmament will go on, we'll be able to live our life side by side with them. Any other way, it's not going to work. Yes.
How can they become disarmed?
This is what the IDF is doing daily. Daily. We're getting in when we plucking these little hairs out of their nose one by one. It hurts. It's not nice. But it has to be done. Yes, dear.
Besides money, what can we do to help out?
Speak up. To everybody that will be willing to listen. Speak up. There's a reality behind these things. Speak up. We're done sitting quietly and it goes around us. No, speak up. Because I see so many people who keep quiet because they're afraid that the reaction will raise up waves and I have to answer people and I don't like this confrontation. You're under attack. So you can, put on your bulletproof vest and sit aside. Or just stand up. I back you. I'm your back. Whatever it's to talk to me, I'm gonna help you. Keep on talking. Yes.
I read that half the people in the world do not really think that Israel was attacked on October 7th.
Oh,
Yes, it's true.
People don't
It's true.
believe it.
It's true. It's true. It's true. Half the world don't believe that Israel was attacked in October 7th.
yeah.
Because the propaganda on the other side is horrific. We have to understand that the modern media it's chambered. It's an echo chamber. You listen and you watch what you watch. You will not look, if you're a Fox viewer, you will not watch CNN. It will piss. If you watch CNN, you will not watch Fox. It will piss you off. So you are constantly in an echo chamber that echoes what you want to hear. Social media, which is the next generation life, is even harder. You sit in front of a mirror and all you see is a mirror. The guy on the other side sits in front of a mirror and look at the mirror of himself. So if you are large enough, this echo chamber has become bigger. Sorry to let you know. I don't know if you know that. There's about 1.3 billion Christians in the world. There's about 1.3 billion Muslims in the world. There's 14 million Jews. No matter how much we yell up, We're a fraction of a percent of the world. The echo chambers of the modern technology is based on algorithms. I can't fight it. I just don't have the numbers. Sheer numbers. For years we used to laugh that it's enough that we'll bring China into Israel and each one of them will go by Israel and used to spit a lot. And spit in Israel and we'll be the ocean. It's a tiny country and there are a billion people. Same here. There's no physical way that we can actually win this battle because the modern ways, look at how many people believe in the flat earth. As crazy as it sounds to us. People try to prove it. Flat earthers. It's not a little bit. We're talking about millions of people. Some of them are what we call people who has followers. So they actually put a lot of effort into that. It's crazy. So not believing that Israel was attacked on October 7th, lucky us. Not we, but the Palestinians themselves took pictures of everything. Everything is there. And it's in social media because they bragged about it. They bragged about it. It's not Israeli footage, it's their footage. They raped, they bragged about it. They murdered, they bragged about it. They sent pictures. All we have to do is just collect these pictures. So, yes, there are always going to be people who say that. There are also people who said that there was no landing on the moon.
And no Holocaust,
And there was no Holocaust. Oh, that's even bigger than that.
even today.
Even today. Yeah, Mahmoud Abbas is a Holocaust denier. That was part of his thesis in university. And he's our partner in the Palestinian side. That's his thesis. There was no Holocaust. It's an invention of the Jews. And he's the guy I have to talk peace with. I have a problem with that. I didn't have it before October 6th. But today, after October 7th, I have a problem with that. Because that's my future. And if that's my partner to the future, I don't see a nice future coming out of it.
One further question for me. How long do you think it's gonna be before Iran gets an atomic bomb?
It doesn't matter. But the question is how long it's going to be until Iran will get an atomic bomb. It's not an issue anymore.
Why not?
Because at that point right now they have enough nuclear material
They have the uranium.
to create.
They have the uranium already.
All right.
Do assisted living, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We're about to end soon. All right.
Donate.
First of all, you have this page that I gave you. I promise to divert the funds as much as I can to whomever I can. And not this one, the one that is this one here
Barcode.
with a barcode. I promise to let whomever is supporting through this will get a receipt on that, and I will try and you need to trust me that it will go to the people that actually need it. And it's going to be whether it's families of survivors or organizations that actually do stuff on an individual level, not on an organizational level. Okay. So here, there's a lot more if anybody wants.
Thank you very
We'll have
much.
some. So thank you for having me here.
Thank you.